Thank you for staying tuned. I am Oluyemisi Dada. Carnage came to world markets on Friday as Britain's decision to leave the European Union sent the pound sterling on a record plunge and plummeting share markets around the globe. Reports indicate that such a body blow to global confidence could well prevent the Federal Reserve from raising interest rates as planned this year and might even provoke a new round of emergency policy easing from the major central banks. Risk asset was scotched as investors fled to the safety of top-rated government debt and gold. Billions were wiped from share values, while the British pound had collapsed no less than 17 US cents, easily the biggest fall in living memory to hit its lowest since 1985.
We are going to see 40% moves in sterling. We're going to see 20% moves potentially in the FTSE and the UK stock market, and big moves in gold. So I think we have modelled and are planning for significant moves, and hopefully it will be the worst case scenario, but we've just seen this move and it could happen.
Meanwhile, Bank of England Governor Mark Carney says the central bank is ready to provide $345.93 billion of additional funds to support financial markets after Britain voted to leave the European Union. Carney also said the central bank will consider whether to take additional policy responses in the coming weeks.
But we are well prepared for this. Her Majesty's Treasury and the Bank of England have engaged in extensive contingency planning, and the Chancellor and I have remained in close contact, including through the night and this morning. To be clear, the Bank of England will not hesitate to take additional measures as required, as markets adjust, and as the UK economy moves forward. As a backstop, and to support the functioning of markets, the Bank of England stands ready to provide more than £250 billion of additional funds through its normal market operations. The Bank of England is also able to provide substantial liquidity in foreign currency if required. In the coming weeks, the bank will assess economic conditions, and we will consider any additional policy responses. And we've taken all the necessary steps to prepare for today's events, and in the future, we will not hesitate to take any additional measures required to meet our responsibilities as the United Kingdom moves forward.
The Central Bank of Kenya Friday said it is ready to intervene and minimize disruption in money markets as Britain voted to exit the EU. Britain's exit from the EU has sparked uncertainty given that Britain is Kenya's third largest export market and a key ally. The CBK has been ramping up its firepower since the central bank governor took over, raising its reserves to more than 5 months of import cover. But analysts say the shilling is overvalued, a position which makes it vulnerable to shocks. And reactions have been pouring in on the impact of Britain's exit from the EU. A business analyst, Ali Kansache, speaks on what this means for African economies.
Africa, we have different trading relationships. Let's take somewhere like East Africa and Kenya, for example. Kenya, Britain was the old colonial power, has enormous investments in Kenya Inc. Safaricom, our biggest company, a mobile phone company, 40% is owned by Vodafone. When you drink a beer, 51% or so is owned by Diageo. So huge investments, big trade relationship. You know, if you go to a supermarket anywhere in the United Kingdom and you'll see our fresh green peas and fresh vegetables there for sale in every supermarket. So we have a big trading relationship, about £1 billion a year, quite meaningful. And then the biggest source market for tourism. The Brits are our biggest number of tourists that come here. And you know, if you're taking a hit with your pocket, in your pocket of 10-15%, you're in this uncertain period, you're probably more likely to save your money and stay at home. So I think there will be an impact. The central bank governor talked about a shockwave. We've definitely had a shockwave. The question, the challenge is going to be, is Africa going to be on the priority for Great Britain? As they renegotiate with all these European countries, are we going to be at the table renegotiating at the same time? If not, how disruptive is that going to prove to be? It took us years to negotiate one agreement with the European Union.
A high court has stopped the Central Bank of Kenya from transferring any assets or liabilities of Imperial Bank to NIC Bank after owners of the collapsed bank challenged the move. Justice George Odunga had issued temporary orders stopping CBK and the Deposit Protection Fund from implementing a deal where NIC Bank was to take over a portion of Imperial Bank's loan book and deposits and restart payments to depositors. The NIC Bank deal is backed by the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation, who has been the receiver manager of Imperial Bank since October the 13th, 2015, when the troubled lender collapsed. Burkina Faso has launched the construction of a 33-megawatt solar power plant to boost electricity generation in the country. In total, Burkina Faso will, in the next 5 years, inject 100 megawatts of solar energy to its electricity network, half of what it currently produces. The Minister of Energy, Mines and Careers, Alpha Umar Dissa, says the solar power Zaktolu paves the way for development of renewable energy is one of the commitments made at COP21 in Paris. The overwhelming majority of the 19 million Burkinabés do not have access to electricity. The Nigerian Customs Service realized about 312 billion naira, that's about $1.10 billion, between January and May this year from customs and excise duties. The Controller General of Customs, Hamid Ali, disclosed this before the Senate Committee on Finance, which summoned revenue-generating agencies to find out the state of inflows. The customs boss says the revenue is 35% less than what had been projected for the period in question.
In total, we have generated everything inclusive, including badge and NDCC certificate, is 312 billion 932 million 162,678 naira 78.60 naira. That is the sum total, which then means we are about 35% less than what we are supposed to have generated. This trend, Mr. Chairman, there's no way we can, by any chance, meet the target set to us. We are hoping and praying that with the release of the budget and with a lot of, with the now liberalized forex market, we hope that traders will begin to pick up and import things.
So far, we've raised 600 billion naira and made this available to the Treasury. And so we still have about 582 billion to raise from the domestic market.
Subsequently, on a quarterly basis, we'd like to have, the various agencies on their own actually furnish the committee with the performance. I mean, we consider some certain things here as gaps, which, for example, going forward, the service needs to look at.
The willingness of Britain to quit the European Union after yes voting in referendum sent the oil markets downward. Various brands of crude lost significant values as dealers and merchants started market trends. At the London market, the Brent lost more than $2 in late trade on Thursday when it became clear that the referendum was in support of UK exit from the EU. Early on Friday, the Brent trades at $48 per barrel against the more than $50 it recorded on Thursday. The OPEC basket drops from $48 to $46 per barrel. And that's business. Sport is next with Marco Tabo.